Hey guys, back again. So today I'm going to review Marvel's The Eternals, which just came out a couple days ago. I finally got the chance to see it. And afterward, I'm going to rank every single Marvel movie from the MCU as well. So all 26 movies I'm going to rank after the initial review for this. But they won't be like extremely detailed. They'll just kind of be like, well, I rank it this one. And I'm not going to like fully give my full review on each film because I've done that before. But I am going to give my review first on Eternals, which, like I said, is the newest Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. The third this year, because we had Black Widow, then Shang-Chi, then this, and then we have Spider-Man No Way Home in December, which I am incredibly excited for. And Eternals, the story of this, I did not know anything about the comics. I knew nothing about these characters. So I'm going in with a very blank slate. I had no idea what any of these characters were, how they acted in the comics. So don't look at me for the person who's going to tell you if this is comic accurate or even related to the comics. I know it's based on them, but I don't know anything about the comics for this particular set of characters. But the Eternals are a group of people who have lived for almost all of mankind and are doing bidding to a higher power, while they, by the end of the movie, have to save humanity. And it sounds very very generic in that way with the plot, because that is a very Marvel Cinematic Universe plot where like it's an origin story. These characters have to fight the bad guy, or they have to stop the big bad at the end. And that this movie is not going to really, like, in terms of that layout, it sounds like it's going to be exactly the same as the other ones, but honestly, no. I thought that this did a good job of being, of at least cinematically looking like more or less like a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. I was actually genuinely surprised, and this is directed by Chloe Zhao, who also directed Nomadland, which I just reviewed I think a while back, starring Frances McDormand, and it's a movie that I really loved. Um, but this is weird because the Eternals look, immediately after watching this movie, I thought, yeah, I liked this, but it's definitely one of the least favorites of mine, or overall ranked as one of the lowest. And that's bad to say because some people are gonna be like, "Nay, don't do that." And I on this first watch, honestly didn't love the movie. I thought it was fine. It wasn't anything super special. Um, I like the characters somewhat, but they're not really that well written. I really thought the visuals were good. I liked how the movie feels like Chloe Zhao directed it, in terms of there are moments where characters take a breather, where it's not like a typical, like, it feels like less of a Hollywood movie in some ways because of how some of these characters react to stuff and how it's slow moving in some ways. Of course, it's an action movie, but there are some moments of quietness in this movie that I liked and appreciated in this type of movie. Um, I liked the scope of it. I liked the characters somewhat. Like, I thought they were fine. Um, I thought that all of them had somewhat distinct personalities, but their personalities weren't that big. Like, they didn't have that many big personalities. But I think they're trying to make the point of these people have lived most of mankind, so they're not going to always be um, that reactive to stuff or have that much of a personality because they've lived this long in the world and like nobody else ever has. So that's something that I think that they were going for, but it kind of makes the characters just come off as kind of boring. Not all of them, but some of them are kind of boring. Um, I liked the people that they got for the movie. I thought that they did a good job with the casting, even though I don't know anything about the comics. But I thought that these actors are actors that I enjoy. Richard Madden, Angelina Jolie, Selma Hayek. Like, I enjoy these actors, and I thought that the casting part was fine. Like, I enjoyed seeing them in this, but they don't have that much to them. And I guess I'll get to that in the negative, I guess. But I'm still talking about the likes. I liked the characters all right. Like I said, so I like the characters all right. I like the visuals. I liked the scope of it. I liked how sometimes it felt like it was a little less than a Marvel movie. Um, it feels like an epic, and I do like that. The dislikes, I for me, it's not like they're like extremely negative, like I hate this movie kind of thing. I definitely don't. I think this movie's fine, but the dislikes for it was that the characters were just, it felt like they weren't they're some of the least compelling out of all of the Marvel movies, in my opinion. Like, I never felt that much of a pull to them. And also, they've got jokes in this movie like they do in other Marvel movies, but this one I felt like a lot of the jokes didn't land that much. There were a couple that were fine, but this one, especially watching it with a big audience, that didn't laugh that much. It really felt like this one didn't do that good of a job in the humor department. And I know it feels like it's kind of like a studio note thing, where it's like this movie tried to be like straightforward, like serious, I think, and then they put in jokes, and I think that that's part of a studio note. I don't feel like that's just based on the director. I think it's based on Marvel itself, and the Marvel has to have these certain things in their movies. But I just felt like the humor didn't work that well for me in this one. The editing is weird because the story spans from present day in the MCU to all different eras of the past. So many different places. They go like everywhere, and it kind of feels it. For the first hour, I was honestly a little bored because I thought it felt like a wash, rinse, repeat type of story mechanic, where it's like you show the present, they say something, then you go to the past, then they do something, then you go to the present, then you go to the past, then you go to the present, go to the past, and it did that like for most of the movie, and I was like, I didn't love that, but I still think that is cool that they did throughout the movie. Like, in terms of, I don't really see that much, but I felt like it made the movie a little more boring than it would have been if it kept sideswiping like each timeline. Like, it just felt like it was so, we're doing this. Like, it felt very surprised. I'm saying it sounds boring, and I felt like it was still boring, but it sounds like it wouldn't be boring just jumping back from time to time. But I felt like it didn't have a whole lot of weight to pull on it in terms of the plot and characters. So it just felt a little uninteresting whenever you have the back and forth, wash, rinse, repeat type of, we're going to past, future, past, future, past, future. So I didn't love that either. And I thought that, really, out of all the Marvel movies, I feel like this is definitely one of the weaker ones for me, because I just felt like it's not like it's generic. I don't think it's that generic of a movie. I actually think it's cool for like a superhero movie. Like, I think the idea is cool, and I think some stuff about it is fun. Kumail Nanjiani and his producer, Kumail Nanjiani plays a character, one of the Eternals, who in current time is a Bollywood star, and he has his producer, a normal human, coming along for the ride, and his jokes are funny, and I thought that worked. I liked them all fine, but there's not anything I can really describe that makes them why I like them, besides that they're the actor playing them. Like, I liked Angelina Jolie, and I liked the kind of snarkiness she did, like, whenever she was fighting, but like, there's not much to her, or any of the other characters, really. Brian Tyree Henry, I thought, was good. He honestly gave a little bit of emotion, like, whenever you see, because he's one of the Eternals that creates things for the world to grow. Like, they have a task of creating things on Earth to make the Earth thrive and grow. And he created most stuff that is thrown out into the world that people start using. And then there is a scene where it is in the bombing of Hiroshima, and he is there reacting to it, crying, saying, like, I did this, I'm the reason why this happened. Like, and I liked that. I thought that was really cool, because it's showing that this person is creating all this stuff that is used to help humans grow, but then they use it for bad stuff. And I liked that character moment. I thought that was really cool, with Brian Tyree Henry. I liked the main girl. I'm blanking on her name, but I thought that she was good. She doesn't really have too much to her in terms of the writing, but I thought the actress was fine. Richard Madden, Icarus, was fine. I thought that he was fun. It's weird to see that this movie has Richard Madden and it has Kit Harington, who's not in the movie that much, but he's the sort of love interest for the main girl, who, again, I'm blanking on her name. Sorry, I knew it before, but now I forgot. But it's got those two actors, and also, I guess her name's Cersei. That perfect way to end that, because her name is Cersei, so the main girl. So Cersei is in love with these two characters that are both from Game of Thrones, and her name is Cersei. I just think that's funny. Or two actors from Game of Thrones. So I thought that was just interesting that they did that in this movie. Just the connective, like, these two actors from Game of Thrones, and then also the main girl is called Cersei. I just thought that was funny. Um, I liked the fact that this one, again, does feel almost not like a Marvel movie in a way. Like it feels kind of like it wanted to be something more ambitious, but it's Marvel, so it's not like they can make it like super ambitious. They've got regulations with this company where they got to go, we can't do this. This is our rules. It's different. They're bought by Disney, so Disney has a set of rules that they have to follow. So this one doesn't feel like it goes in a route that is anything completely unique, but I felt like it had little smidges of trying to be unique or more unique. And also, it is not a movie that's really that forgettable. I think the characters are more forgettable than anything, but I think visually it's really cool. I think that it looks good. I think that it has stuff that makes me feel like I'll remember it, but for more of the style over substance, if I'm really saying that right. Like, because the characters aren't great. There's some stuff that they're okay, but they're not like anything super memorable. Um, but overall, I thought this one was all right. It's nothing super special, but I thought that it wasn't a bad like watch. Like I liked it all right, but it's definitely one of my least favorite Marvel movies. So that's it on the review for the Eternals. So let's do my quick ranking. There are 26 Marvel movies, and dead last, the Marvel movie that I like the least, and I don't hate it, is Thor: The Dark World, which is just kind of generic. And Avengers Endgame kind of helped that out, like with that bringing that more into that movie to like show that that movie matters more. But Thor: The Dark World felt like the most aimless, like nothing really happened, like the most generic villain in it. But they had good chemistry between Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, all those people I thought were fun in it still, but it just was the most forgettable one. Thor 2, that one had a lot of studio interference, it felt like. Number 25 would be Captain Marvel, which I'm not dogging Brie Larson. A lot of people did. I just think that this one is a little forgettable as well. Like, it's just a forgettable origin story with forgettable action. And I honestly don't remember much about it. I've seen it a couple times, but Captain Marvel is not that interesting of a character so far in the MCU. And it really just didn't do much for me. So Captain Marvel's number 25. Number 24 is The Eternals, which I've already talked about right now. So it's not my least favorite, but it's really low. Number 23 would be Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which was the last Marvel movie to come out. Great action sequences. I like the main character. I like the characters overall. But I felt like the third act was really just kind of generic Marvel, like cinematic universe like fight at the end. It didn't feel like it was that interesting, but I still liked it overall, but that's why it's pretty low too. Number 22 is Iron Man 2, which is convoluted. It's trying to set up the Avengers movie, but then it's got underdeveloped Mickey Rourke, but it's got really good chemistry between, or a really good performances of Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow and all those people in Iron Man 2. I think they do a good job with the performances, and I think it's fun and funny, but it's just kind of overstuffed, Iron Man 2. But I think I put that over those other ones because I like just how great Robert Downey Jr. is in that movie and how fun it is, even though it's convoluted. Number 21 would be Spider-Man Far From Home, and this is a movie that the more I watch it, the more I like it less. It's weird because I love the Spider-Man movies, most of them, but like, this one goes outside of New York. It goes to Europe, and they bring Spider-Man out into a new location, and that would be really cool. But it felt like kind of like Thor 2. It felt like it was kind of aimless. I like Jake Gyllenhaal a lot as Mysterio. Like, I thought he was great. I thought Tom Holland was good. I thought all the performances were still good, like the other Spider-Man movie, Homecoming. But this one just felt like the most forgettable. Like, it was cool ideas, but just executed kind of whatever. Like, it wasn't terrible, it wasn't bad, but it just wasn't anything super special. No Way Home, it honestly was a good setup for what's going to come next, because I'm more excited for No Way Home, which of course, because it's got all those old Spider-Man villains in it. But yeah, number 21 is Spider-Man Far From Home. Number 20 is Black Widow. This one was a little higher than I thought because I really actually liked the side characters a lot in Black Widow. I thought they were really, really fun, really funny, really charming. I thought that the story of Black Widow itself, it kind of falls into generic like Marvel Cinematic Universe territory, but I thought that it did a good job with being fun and having fun action. And I liked the Black Widow character having a movie, even though she wasn't. It felt like it was more focused on the side characters because you know her fate already before you see this movie. But nevertheless, I thought that Black Widow was a fine executed movie. I thought it was enjoyable, but it's so low because there's so many Marvel movies. So yeah, Black Widow is number 20. Number 19 is Ant-Man, which I think is really cute and really fun, and I think just that's a fun, adorable little movie. Like it's less high stakes, and that's what makes it enjoyable. Number 18 is Avengers: Age of Ultron. The worst Avengers movie, I guess, quote unquote. It felt like it just didn't have like it had the villain Ultron who was good with James Spader, like good and intimidating, scary. But the story was just kind of like that's one of the that's easily the most forgettable out of the 4 Avengers movies in terms of plot. The chemistry is still there, the acting is still good, the action sequences sometimes are really good. It just feel like it's more of a forgettable one, but I do like this team up movie, so it's definitely my least favorite Avengers movie out of the 4, but it's still pretty good. Number 17 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. Just does a great job of elaborating on the first one and making it even more fun and more goofy. And again, another low stakes Marvel movie, and I think that that's fun, and I want to see more of those. Because the Marvel movies usually end with big bad, you got to stop the big bad guy or the world's going to end kind of thing. And the Ant-Man movies haven't done that so far. So I enjoy Ant-Man and the Wasp a lot. I thought that was really fun, and it did a good job of having the characters develop a lot more between Scott and Hope. I really like that as well. And then number 16 is Doctor Strange, which just based on visuals alone is fantastic, but I really like Benedict Cumberbatch in this movie. I like that he's like Iron Man, where he's a dick and he learns his lesson and he has to learn and take hardships and becomes this magnificent grand wizard. And I think it's just really fun. It's really kooky, and it's just really entertaining and creative. Like, I really like Doctor Strange, even though it's number 16. Again, there's so many Marvel movies, so it's hard to like rank these in a way where it's like I love most of them, so it's hard to rank them. But number 15 would be Captain America: The First Avenger, which is a really great origin story for Captain America, and I really liked the fact that this one set in the 1940s, World War II. Of course, fictionalized with the Hydra stuff, but it is, and I'm usually not into like war movies that much. Like, not usually. There's some I like, but war movies are not usually my thing. But I felt like this one had enough to care about in the movie. Like, I cared about the characters. I enjoyed them. I enjoyed the visual flair to it. This is directed by Joe Johnston, who directed The Rocketeer, and this looks like The Rocketeer in a good way. Like, it looks visually good like that. It's a very good visual movie. First outing for Chris Evans, and he does a great job in this. I think it's a great just hero story, and I really do like the first Captain America. Number 14 is Black Panther, which again is great, but it's so hard to rank these. Black Panther has one of the best villains, Killmonger. Michael B. Jordan is fantastic in this. Chadwick Boseman is really good as well, but I feel like it's more of the villain's movie, if you have to choose. And also, it's just a really cool movie that does real life issues, but not in a way where it's like it feels annoying and pandering. Like, I like that these characters are in Wakanda, which is a place secluded outside of the world, and then you've got a villain who is a black man who comes in and looks at everybody like, why don't you give resources to everybody else who's been like tortured, like black guys like this? And I like that back and forth, and it never felt like it was just like pandering. It felt like it was actually like trying to make a good point of like, why don't you guys do this? Like, you could help out the world. And I like that. I liked how the villain was. He's just really cool. And again, it's just a really good visual movie. It kind of reminds me of The Lion King in some ways, because it has that dad dies and king's got to take over the throne kind of thing. But and also with that type of culture as well, it's going to look aesthetically kind of similar. But Black Panther, I think, is awesome. Really love the first Black Panther. Again, can't wait for the second one. Number 13 is the original Thor, which is pretty high up, honestly. It's just a fish out of water story where this arrogant god, like, is thrown down on Earth, and he has to learn a lesson, and I think it's really fun. And I like how it's more small stakes. It's basically Thor versus Loki, his brother, who just has been rejected, and the fact that they do a great job with building up Loki as this rejected outcast who wasn't really Odin's son, who Odin took, and how he's betrayed, and I really like that. And again, this is another movie where the villain is arguably more interesting than the hero, even though I do like Chris Hemsworth as Thor, but I think Loki has the most like character growth in this movie and throughout the rest of the things he's in. But this is a great first start for both characters. Number 12 is Thor Ragnarok, which visually fantastic, hilarious. Taika Waititi, great director. I love his other movies that I've seen. I haven't seen all of them, but I have seen What We Do in the Shadows and Hunt for the Wilder People, which are great. But I haven't seen. There's another one he did, but he's a great director. I think that this movie really gave. Funny enough, because Thor 2 like is my least favorite one. This one gave like a big like jolt of electricity, no pun intended, to Thor being a funny, silly guy, but also being a very, very silly, funny, pulpy, like 80s type of movie. And I think that it was really entertaining. Really cool visually. Like, this is one of the best looking Marvel movies. But it has some great humor, some great heart to it. Thor learns a lot. His dad's gone. His mom was gone in part 2. Now Thor's dad's gone, and now Thor and Loki have to learn from each other fully, and they fully have an arc. And I love that. I think that's great. Number 11 is Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which is one of the saddest ones. It's great. I love the fact that you've got the further elaboration on Peter Quill and his father and how he didn't have a father. And in this one, you see how horrible his father is. Ego, played by Kurt Russell, is great casting. And I like how it splits the team up. Usually part 2 movies do that, but they do it in a great job here. It really reminded me of The Empire Strikes Back in that way, where like these characters split up, but it's still interesting. Because there's some movies that do that, like say Scream 3, where like they split up the characters and it's not that interesting. But this one feels very interesting, and I feel like this has a lot of heart to it. It is very sweet. It's such a nice movie, and it's so funny and cute, and Baby Groot is adorable. And visually, again, like Thor Ragnarok is one of the best. It's one of the best ones. It's got so much heart to it. By the end of the movie, whenever Yondu sacrifices himself, like that to me is just incredibly sad and so rewarding, like just because of the build up between both the first 2 movies. I love that. Guardians 2, just really, really good. Number 10 is Spider-Man Homecoming, which is a really, really cool reboot, again, of Spider-Man. Because, again, we had the Tobey Maguire movies, then we had 2 Andrew Garfield movies, and then Sony was like, no, we're just going to ditch this, and then we're going to do another one. And I was really, really skeptical because I loved the Andrew Garfield movies and I love the Tobey Maguire movies, so it's like, whenever Tom Holland was announced and he was great in Civil War, I thought the movie itself, I was like, is this going to be fine? And it totally was really good. Like, I really like Spider-Man Homecoming. The only problem I have with Spider-Man Homecoming is it feels less like the other Spider-Man movies, where it's not as... it's more kiddish, if that makes sense. And that's kind of a weird thing to say, because in the Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire movies, they both look older than they should be. So this one makes sense for Tom Holland because he looks like a kid. And I believe he was like 20 whenever he filmed the first one, Spider-Man Homecoming. So I think that this one feels a little too kiddie for me in some ways, but I think it has a great story arc. It has a great new Peter Parker. I love the fact where it's him and Iron Man tells him, like, if you can't do anything special without the suit, you don't deserve the suit. And I think that that's one of my favorite Spider-Man arcs in all the movies, where Peter Parker has to create himself from that. And the fact that Vulture, who Michael Keaton plays, is just the dad of the girl that he loves, Liz Allen. I thought that was really cool, and I really liked how just more down to earth it was compared to the other Spider-Man movies. Even though I like some more of those more, I think that this one did a great job with everything about it. Just really fun and cute as well. Then number 9 is the original Iron Man, which some people say is the best one, and I think it is truly one of the best ones. It is weird to watch this one now because it has all those cliches that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has in every movie now, where it's like the good guy versus the bad guy, and also the origin story where the character creates this, but then the villain is doing the same thing as well. But it's just executed so well. I think that Robert Downey Jr., again, in the first movie, this first one he did, like, shines so fantastically. Jeff Bridges is a good villain. I like Gwyneth Paltrow. Terrence Howard I thought was fine, even though he gets replaced after this one. But this one was just, and it felt like a more grounded superhero movie, even though it's about a guy with a titanium iron suit that flies in the air. But still, it felt way more grounded in this whole universe with gods and magic and Eternals. So I really love the first Iron Man. But again, there's so many movies in this franchise, it's hard to rank them. Number 8 is Iron Man 3, which a lot of people will say hearsay for because the Mandarin twist or whatever, and I haven't read the comics. I don't know anything about that. I know that that's not really the Mandarin, whatever. This one just has a fantastic arc for Tony Stark. I love everything about this one. I love the humor of it. I love the action of it. It's a Shane Black movie. Shane Black movies are usually awesome, really good. This one is really fantastic, and I love the fact that Iron Man in this one, or Tony Stark in this one, has to work without the suit for a while, and he has to learn more about being a hero. And I think that it just really works. And I really like Aldrich Killian, the villain who Guy Pearce plays, who's the villain who wants to become what Tony Stark is, created an empire, became the villain of the good guy. And I just thought that like the first one with Jeff Bridges, it felt like it kind of connected in that way where like the good guy rises, the bad guy rises. And I just thought it was really cool. And again, even with the Mandarin twist aside, I thought it was still really fun and really funny. It's got some great action. It's got some great stakes. If there was no other movie that Iron Man appeared in after this movie, I would have been fine with that, even though I love his other movies after this that he's in, like Avengers or Civil War. But this one just ended on a great note. Like, I love the ending to this movie. It's fantastic. I love how he's talking about how we all build our own demons and create our own demons. And I think that it's just a very good quote at the end of the movie. But I really like Iron Man 3. I think it's great. Number 7 is the Avengers, the first team up. Just really, really solid throughout. Joss Whedon did a great job in this first one. I think it's better than the second one, definitely. But the second one isn't bad. The second one's still good. But I feel like this one did a really good job of building up these characters that had never met before and did a good job of elaborating on it. And had really good action, really good climax. So I really like the first Avengers. Number 6 is Captain America the Winter Soldier, which is a great thriller, which is funny to hear that in the MCU because this one feels, I was talking about the first Iron Man and how it felt really realistic. This one feels like a very realistic political thriller where like there's not really that much about powers or gods or anything in this, even though they're connected, of course, in the universe. This is just about grounded political espionage, and I think that it's really, really good, and it just works very well with the characters. The continuation of Captain America, or Steve Rogers, and Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, is really good, and I love the ending where, like, Bucky, you don't know what he's going to do, like, where he's going to go, like, is he going to be good or not? Like, I love that they're both created as hero and villain, and it's just really, really well done. Really like Captain America the Winter Soldier. And then number 5 is one that's really high up that people wouldn't expect, but the Incredible Hulk, the Edward Norton one. I really love this one. I think that this one has some of the, even though they're basic, I really think this has some of the most endearing characters in it. I really love Bruce Banner and Betty Ross. I think that this is the best romantic movie in terms of that. The score, I think, is incredible. I listen to the score all the time still. I really like Tim Roth as Abomination. That's great. I'm glad that we got to see him again in Shang-Chi, somewhat briefly, but that's cool. We got to see them back, and we got to see William Hurt in Civil War and Infinity War and Black Widow. So they are slowly bringing this in, but it still feels like the black sheep because it's got Edward Norton instead of Mark Ruffalo. But I love this movie. I love the chemistry between the two. I love the score. I love the action. I love how it's sad. I love how the movie ends in a way where they can't be together. I think that really, really works. I really love the Incredible Hulk. I think it's great. Number 4 is Guardians of the Galaxy, the original one. The biggest surprise and fluke that I just thought this movie, like, if I knew nothing about these characters, and I am just surprised at the amount of success this movie has gotten, James Gunn, and the second one, and how James Gunn made a fantastic movie. I really love James Gunn movies. I've seen every one of them except for Super, I believe, which I want to see, but I haven't seen it yet. But I love James Gunn's movies. I think that he does a great job writing characters. I think he does a great job of being very endearing, and he makes these characters extremely endearing. It's just such an endearing, sweet movie. It's a very visual, cool movie. I think that it's cool to see the. I keep saying cool. I think it's great to see the score, the musical choices they put in this movie, and I love how it's stuff that really just feels universal that you can hear anytime. And I love all the music as well. I just think it's a great origin story with these characters who you don't know anything about, and they are so likable, so charming, even though they're douchebags to each other. And I think that James Gunn does that well, where he can make characters who are not that likable be entertaining and fun. And this one is just one of his best movies, and I really love Guardians of the Galaxy. And then number 3 is Avengers Infinity War, which the ending alone, like, I think is one of the best endings, even though you know that the characters are going to come back, you know that they're not going to be dead forever. But the fact that building up that, I thought was a great job, did a great job. I think they did a great job with the characters, building them together and showing new characters that have never joined each other before in the MCU. The Russo brothers do a great job with their movies, with the 3 that they directed. This one just did a great job with characters, having them all, like I said, who've never met each other before. Most of these characters, all of them join together for a bigger threat and then lose. And I think that that's awesome. So I really love that. And then number 2 is Avengers Endgame. And this was very hard to choose between this one and number 1. So Avengers Endgame has one of the coolest endings, like ending fights in a superhero movie. It's just so, you want to cheer and scream at the screen because it's so awesome with everything that they do in this movie. I love that the movie is 3 hours long. I love that the movie is quiet at a lot of moments. I feel like the movie really does a fantastic job of making these superhero blockbuster characters really have layers to them. And I think that it really shows that whenever these characters come back at the end, whenever they resurrect all the people who died, like half the earth, it feels so rewarding because it really feels like these characters went through real distress to get to it. And I think that it's really fantastic. It's so hard to choose between that one and this one. But Endgame is fantastic. But my number 1 is Captain America Civil War, which is one that no matter what I look at whenever I watch these Marvel movies, I think that Civil War is one of the most tight out of all the Marvel movies. I think that it does a fantastic job with all of these characters. Again, it's a movie where you've got 2 sides. You got Captain America versus Iron Man. You got one side that's for fighting without the government, and one is fighting for the government because Tony Stark has screwed up so many times. So you get every single character in this movie that's on each side. You get a reason why everybody is on what side they're on. There's no like character in the background that's just there to be shown. It is so well done. There is a moment in this movie where I just won't forget, like with Alfre Woodard, who is also in Luke Cage, another MCU kind of property. There's a scene between Tony Stark and this lady, Alfre Woodard, who's a great actress. I love her. She sees Tony Stark and says, "This is my son." And then he goes, "Oh, wow." And she said, "You killed him. You killed my son, and I'm never going to forgive you." And I think, and I can't even do it justice with her performance. I can't, of course, can't say that like she says it. She's so fantastic. But that scene alone is one of the best moments in any Marvel movie. And also the fact that you get such an effective build-up and effective writing with the fact that Tony Stark in this movie is just as important as Iron Man, or is just as important as Captain America is. But the fact that Tony Stark, who has distress with his dad who died and his mom who died, and then you realize in the end that Bucky was the one who killed them. And the fact that it creates a rift between between Captain America and Iron Man is fantastic. I just love how well written that is built up. I love the action scenes in this one. I love how they go to an airport and they just start beating each other up, like both sides. Like Ant-Man becomes Giant Man, Spider-Man's introduced, Spider-Man says a lot of silly, funny things. All of these characters have great lines. The humor is all funny throughout. It's not as serious as Captain America the Winter Soldier, but it feel like it doesn't need to be. I feel like this one needed to be a mixture of both, and it is one of the most emotional, besides the 2 of Infinity War and Endgame, it's the most emotional, in which these characters learn the most, I think, in this movie. Because in Infinity War they're joining together and then they lose, and then in Endgame they learn a lot. But in this one, it is about a rift between Captain America and Iron Man. I think it's just very, very well executed. I really love the fact that this one is just so well done. Like I can watch Civil War anytime. It's my favorite one out of all of them. But I can watch most of these at any time. But like I said, that's my ranking. I really enjoyed ranking these again because it's been a while. Um, like I said, Eternals. It stinks that Eternals was not like my favorite, but I didn't dislike it. I didn't hate it. It's just kind of whatever. It's not anything super special. But what can you say with 26 Marvel movies so far? Like, how can you say every one of them is amazing? Because it's hard to say that, or even completely entertaining. Because these movies fall into those traps of having cliches and having stuff like that. But this franchise I love, and I'm so glad that they still are making them. So I enjoy this franchise and love it a lot. But that's it for today on my rankings. And then the review for Eternals. Am so excited for Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm going to review the other Spider-Man movies again and rank them again before that comes out. But I don't know when I'll do that, but it'll be pretty soon. So tell me down below what you guys thought of Eternals and how would you rank the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that is it for today, and I'll see you guys.